All right, guys, is everybody ready? Okay, we are live in 3, 2, 1. All right,
Good
guys,
evening, everybody.
that's a wrap.
We're good?
I think so now, yeah.
Okay, sorry. All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Intern Hour. I'm your host, John Fay. I am the editor-in-chief of USLA Magazine here at USLA Media. And I have with me Jordan and Allison. We have a lot to talk about today, a lot of things happening around the world, a lot of big topics happening. We're going to start off talking about the election, which is so close right now. Like we've been watching the news as much as possible, trying to keep updated with that. The last we checked, Joe Biden is closing in on the states of Georgia and Pennsylvania, and let's talk about that. How are we feeling, everybody?
First, I'd like to say this is the most I've ever watched the news in a consecutive amount of time. I've literally had it on for as much as I possibly can since this all started, but man, this is stressful. I feel like everyone else is in the same boat. This is because of how close it is. I just haven't really been able to sleep. It's just insane.
And it's just hard because it's like it's going on so long. Normally we'll know like the day of, or like early into the morning of the next day. What are we on, our fourth day? Since
day.
the election.
And they're kind of saying, sorry, Allison. I was going to say they're kind of saying that we still don't even know if we're going to get results by today. It could be, up until the weekend.
I was actually I was reading about Nevada because I was like, why is it taking Nevada so long? Like you're just counting like ballots and every other state has done it. Nevada actually has a plan that apparently going as planned right now, that they didn't even start counting any ballots until, oh, yeah, I apologize. I have some Wi-Fi issues right now, so hopefully you guys can hear me.
That's okay. Yeah, you sound better now.
Okay. Nevada's actually going as planned. They didn't start counting their ballots until I think election day, and I could have the date wrong, but I don't think they're projected to have a definite answer until around November 15th. So
we might not know until November 15th.
According to at least Nevada's results.
I think everybody's hoping that that's not the case because we're kind of in a political limbo right now, and nobody's enjoying this. Nobody's enjoying not knowing who the next president of the United States is going to be, the leader of the free world. As most people know who've been paying attention to the news, a few states have been contested by President Trump as there being some voter fraud happening, which he's been talking about since before the election. Specifically, he's been talking about Pennsylvania and even our own city of Philadelphia. He's been specifically talking about that. And I think that's also going to delay the results of the presidential debate. And everybody's skewed on this. There's people who are for Biden who are happy with how it's going. There are people that are for Trump that are thinking that there's something fishy going on. How are we feeling about that? We're nonpartisan here, so we don't want to take sides. But I think everybody's entitled to their opinion on such a big issue. I mean, this has kind of been one of the big issues of this very long year that we've been having.
So thing that I find ironic about this situation is I'm sure you all have been keeping up with Trump's Twitter page, as that's where he's been mostly speaking out on, but a lot of his content has been flagged by Twitter saying, this is not accurate or proven information. He's saying that, oh, there's fraudulence going on, and the Democrats are stealing the election from us, and Twitter is tagging his post, but yet he's one of the biggest spokespeople about fake news. Yet that is exactly what he's been releasing out into into the world right now. So for me, just kind of sitting back and looking at this, I just find it really ironic and a little humorous, even though the situation shouldn't be it's not funny at all.
I think that
Allison?
so like right now, obviously you want to count. When we know that President Trump has been posting things on Twitter saying like stop the count or continue the count and stuff like that. But why can't people just let them count? It's like what happened. What's going to happen is going to happen. I think at this point, um, for either side, there's no point in really saying like stop the count or continue the count, because in the end of the day, they're just going to continue counting the ballots. So yeah, I think they should just continue to count. Just keep
Something
going on.
important I think that's not being brought up is that everybody's talking about how close this race is right now, that it's a few states are kind of holding the results in their hands, really, and it's only by like some of them it's only by like a couple thousand, so it's very, very close. This is not the first time that we've had this issue before. We're all probably a little too young to remember this. I certainly don't remember it, but when George W. Bush was running against Al Gore, they had that issue in Georgia with the recount, and that delayed things. So it's definitely not something that's happened before, but I don't think it's been on such like a wide scale as much as it's been in the last 4 days. Or 3 days.
And there's definitely going to be a recount in Georgia. There's just no way there wouldn't be. It's so close. I mean, by a thin hair.
Yeah, I looked it up before and I did the math. It's only between like 1,500 votes. And it's like
That's
I was
so close.
before. That just like it shows you how close it is and how divided our country is and how much every vote counts. Like, people always say like, "Oh, well, does it really matter? Does my vote really matter?" In this case, yes, your vote really mattered.
Yeah. It's also sorry, John, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, you go ahead.
I was just going to say that this is this election, there's so many people who came out and voted, and I think that that's a lot due to the way that what's going on in the world right now. But I'm truly really proud of us as a nation for really coming together and making sure all of our voices are heard, and whether that be through going in person or voting early. So I think that that is just so awesome to see. People are actually really really carrying this election and really wanted to have their voices heard.
I was reading yesterday, Joe Biden has the most votes of any presidential candidate in history. The only other person that came before that was Barack Obama.
Mm-hmm.
So the voter turnout was amazing this year. I think it also has to do with the fact that there was mail-in voting. I think people who wouldn't have voted in other elections, not even for liking or disliking one of the candidates, is the convenience of being able to just send it out and not wait in a line for 2.5 hours like I did on November 3rd.
Right,
That's a common story I've been hearing from people who voted in person.
Mm-hmm.
So because I think some people, that's enough of a turnoff for them not want to go and vote in person. But I think having all the conveniences that we've had this year has made a huge difference in the voter turnout. I'm
interested to see if this is how they'll carry it out throughout the rest of elections to come. Seeing the success and the hardships of having mail-in ballots, if that's something that they'll either stick to, after the pandemic is over, or if they'll, keep it on.
I'm curious to see if that's the case as well, just because there have been some cases of lost ballots and things like that. So I think that they have to kind of weigh the pros and the cons with something like this, make sure that, something like this isn't, I'm not making any claims right now, but, making sure that something like this is not, that people aren't able to control something like this and, commit voter fraud with something like this. I'm not saying that that's happening, but there are people that have been concerned about that from the beginning. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes.
If they want to continue. Mhm.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, if they want to continue something like this, I think they would need to really solidify the plan to make sure something like a possible like voter fraud situation or a lost ballot situation won't happen in the future. But I would great plan because not even I mean, obviously, like college students have always had the mail in ballot and the absentee ballot kind of situation. But think about like the elderly, this just makes it a lot easier for them. Or just like the working class, sometimes they may not have the time because so many people do not get off for election day. And like you said, waiting in line for 3 hours, like you people coming after work, like the voting places, they close at 6, like work ends at 5 for most people. So I think they really should continue something like this, but they would need to solidify a plan to really make sure everything goes as smooth as possible.
I'm going to make 2 more points, and then we're going to go on to our next subject. I like what you brought up, that I think that with the next election, they'll see what happened with this election, because we had less than a year for the mail-in to become like a common thing, because COVID just happened earlier this year. So it's not like we had an entire year to kind of plan this out. So next election, they'll be a little more on top of things, I think. So it will go over a lot more smoothly than it maybe has been this election. And there's also, what was the other point I was going to make? I think that with the next election, people are going to know what they would rather do. Like having that option, I think, is going to be really good for people. All right, so for our next topic, multiple states, most notably New Jersey, legalized several different substances, including marijuana, which has been a long contested substance in this country to be legalized for medical purposes specifically, but also for recreational purposes. The amount of people incarcerated for nonviolent drug offenses is astonishing in this country. It's one of the top reasons that people are in jail right now.
Mhm.
And New Jersey just legalized recreational marijuana, and there's a couple other states that have legalized other substances. And I'm going to pass this off to Jordan, who's going to go more into detail on this.
Yeah, so I was definitely interested in what was going down with all of this. I would definitely say with this election, this is a huge win for people who are advocates for legalizing marijuana as well as other drugs within recreational or medical use. So some of the other states that so we have New Jersey, we also have Montana and Arizona, as well as South Dakota that legalized the recreational use of marijuana. But what was really interesting was South Dakota and Mississippi legalized medical marijuana. So South Dakota was the first state to ever legalize the medical use for marijuana as well as the recreational use, all in the same election. So that was just kind of speaking volumes as for the progression that we're in. I definitely think this is a huge win for the people that are incarcerated for marijuana charges to definitely get out. So, and then another state that I wanted to bring up was Oregon. So Oregon is the first state to decriminalize cocaine, heroin, and methamphetamine with small amount use. So if you have a small amount on you, that's decriminalized, but also legalize the medical use of psychedelics. And I think that this is such a new psychedelics is a very new topic that a lot of people have been talking about regarding medical use. So I think that was just super interesting, really innovative. These states are definitely progressing in a way that it'll be interesting to kind of see what goes down in Oregon with medical use of psychedelics. I'm definitely interested to see how that goes.
Allison, how do we feel about this?
I think that lead week was I'm sorry. Lead, there we go. I think it's such a, especially like medical marijuana. I know it's like such a hot topic, but it's been proven that for like certain medical diseases, like it genuinely helps people. I know people who use it I believe, for autism, and like it has very much helped like autistic people, and even like with pain for like cancer patients. So I think especially medical marijuana, definitely, I think it's a good thing that it's being legalized. As for the people who are right now in prison for drug possession of weed, I mean, that's such a hard thing because yes, of course they should get out, but now they face the issue of, well, they were just in prison for some of them years, and now they're just like, oops, well, now it's legal, so you can leave, and that's people's lives that have been wasted now, and they had now have a criminal record.
Right.
So things like that, that's a hard subject, because how do you just say sorry to people for like putting them in prison?
I'd like to hope that there would be some kind of, I guess reparations would be the right word, because maybe the government, paying them some amount, almost like a like in a court case, they would make a settlement with them. But I also think maybe expunging their records of certain crimes is also in order with something like this, because I think that they should make it as if those people unfortunately can never get their time back, but
Mhm.
giving them a fresh slate to work off of, I think, is going to be an important step in this.
I think that's the most we can really do at this point.
Mhm. I'll mention a personal point of interest with this, especially in Oregon, where they have legalized different psychedelics, including psilocybin, which is a lot of people know it as magic mushroom.
Yep.
Purely from a medical standpoint, I've been reading for years about the benefits of it for people who have, like soldiers who have suffered from PTSD, people who suffer from severe depression, mental disorders, and it seems to be, and I'm making no medical claims here, but from what I've been reading, it works so much better than different drugs that doctors can give out right now. So I think from a medical standpoint, it's incredible that it is just now being legalized for that purpose. I'm not saying for recreational, but for the medical purposes, I think that a lot of people are going to really benefit from this, along with medical marijuana as well, because a lot of people who are maybe undergoing chemotherapy would use maybe like THC extract, and that's going to help with their pain and their stress. I personally know people who've used that for different medical reasons. So I think it's going to be a step in the right direction of helping people to deal with pain, to deal with mental disorders as well. I think it's a really good step in the right direction. And now we've kind of opened up this world where we're going to be able to learn more, because they'll be able to put more research into this now legalized substance and substances.
Right. I completely agree. I think it'll be really interesting to see how this all turns out for Oregon, and the either the success stories, or maybe there's some failures along the way. But I'm also interested to see, all right, which state's next. What's one's going to be the next one that legalizes the medical use of psychedelics,
Mhm.
and how is that going to look for the time coming.
And I know you mentioned, Jordan, was it the Pennsylvania Attorney General who talked about Pennsylvania's stance on this at the moment?
So that was I think Allison said that. Yeah.
So it's
I'm sorry, Allison.
Jason Gotzman, I think that's how you pronounce his name. He's the spokesman from Pennsylvania's House Majority Leader.
Yes.
Quoted, as long as we're in the middle of a declared opioid emergency, we shouldn't be legalizing another drug. So it looks like currently Pennsylvania won't be legalizing anything, but he also mentioned that at least for the general Philadelphia region, most people are within a 30-minute drive from somewhere you can buy weed legally. So they're going to see how that plays out, because there's going to be a lot more like legal weed within at least the city.
Yes, it's going to be very interesting to see where other states are going to go with this. I think that one of the real benefits of this is that I think the arrest rates for drug possession, drug use is going to go down, which, people have their opinions on that, but I think if you can arrest less people, that's a good thing.
It's also creating a lot of jobs too.
Exactly. I'm also going to mention this. I think that this is going to be something that opens up now, is with medical marijuana. Not even that, but I think that that might also help out maybe the hemp industry, which I think is an industry that America has not properly tapped into. And America in the past has kind of had an open hand in the hemp industry. That's used for so many different. It was used for so many different purposes, from building materials to medicines and things like that. So I think that now with that industry, they've legalized an aspect of it. I think that now that's going to open the door for more industry to come in. So from an economic standpoint, I think that there's going to be a lot of benefit to this as well. And yeah, also businesses, I think, there's going to be people that can open up businesses around these new legalized products. And, maybe there's going to be some government programs that open up maybe for, testing of psychedelic substances on people with PTSD, like I mentioned, or with depression. So there's going to be I think a lot of good coming out of this. And it's one of those topics where, it's not going to be perfect. There's going to be issues, like we mentioned. There's always going to be issues with things like that. This isn't like a utopian thing where it's like down the line perfect. There's going to be issues with it, but I think overall, I think the pros are going to outweigh the cons on this.
And when you think about there will be less arrests, that means we're going to have to pay less taxes for people going into the jail system, because there'll be less people right now in the jail system. So like you said, I think while it may take some time to really see the results of this, I think overall it's going to be a good thing.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And now on to our next subject, which I know is a very important subject to everything we're talking about now is very important, but this is important to all of us because we are all Temple students. Go Owls. Temple just the other day announced their plans for the next semester, which includes most classes being online, very similar to what they've done this semester, with the exception of certain classes that the school feels cannot be converted into an online format. I have at least 2 classes I know I'm taking next semester because I'm going to be graduating next semester, and I need to take these classes, and at least 2 of them I know probably won't be able to translate into an online format. So with that comes people who have to go to in-person classes. Temple is mandating that those people get tested for COVID-19 twice a week. They've also eliminated the spring break. There's going to be a late start to the semester. It's going to be January 19th instead of, I believe it was usually January 11th, if I'm not mistaken, 11th or 12th. So it's going to be a week that, it's going to be a week that we gain for the winter break, but we're losing the spring break.
Right.
And they're not offering some needed in-person classes. So some people might be completely missing out on classes that they need or wanted to take. And again, we're all Temple students here. So how are we feeling as Temple students?
Where do we want to start?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Start with
we can get a little personal about this one, because this is everything we're talking about this in the show is directly affecting everybody in the country, but we are specifically being affected by this as students of this university.
So I guess let's talk about the 2 times a week testing for people who have the in-person classes and anyone dorming. Personally, I know a bunch of universities, like my friend goes to Northeastern. She has to get tested, I believe, twice, or at least every week. She gets tested for COVID. I personally think that's a little too much twice a week. Because when you think about it, it's like as soon as you get the test, before you even get the results, like how fast are these results coming in? Could you be getting a new test before you get the results? Like I think maybe just once a week testing is sufficient. But I mean, I understand they're like the extra safety precautions, but I think it's a little too much, maybe twice a week.
Yeah, I completely agree. So I'm in the graduate program, so it is a little bit different from what you guys have. I only have 2 classes a semester, and they're going to be night classes regardless. They've already been deemed they're going to be online, but if I was an undergraduate student if you have this class that has to be in person, do you get the choice to opt out of that? I don't know if you would. So getting tested twice a week with what time, with what money, where are these resources coming from? I just kind of would have liked to see the thought process for Temple wanting to have it twice a week rather than just once a week.
Exactly. From everybody I've talked to that I have classes with, most people are not happy about this. We also have to mention, I mean, like most universities in the country, Temple really doesn't have a lot of options that they can work with. So I understand where they're coming from. I mean, they're trying to take every precaution they have, but from a student standpoint, I think a lot of people are kind of unhappy with how they're handling the situation. It's a very divided issue. Like, I understand what the university is doing, but I also understand why students are not happy about this. Have you guys discussed this with any other fellow students and gotten any feedback from them?
I think like in the beginning, I agree that like some things that Temple has been doing along the whole COVID process, some of it has been some like it's been very iffy with me personally, and then with students.
Allison, you're cutting out again,
They
girl.
are at least communication. I don't know if you guys can you hear me? Are you good?
Yeah, you're a little, I mean, you're cutting out a little bit.
I just got the
This is a true work from home experience.
It is, yes.
and
I think we're losing Allison, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm just gonna text her real quick. Let her. Oh wait. Oh.
Oh.
Well.
She'll be back in a moment, folks.
And then
Just having some technical difficulties. This is the pleasure of working at home. No, she's not back. So I'll pass it on to you, Jordan.
Yeah, so I definitely have been talking to some students about this, and they kind of feel the same way, that it's just a lot. But then again, a lot of the people that I've been talking to are in my graduate program, so all of our classes are going to be online. I think it's just I do appreciate Temple doing as much as they can to protect everyone and to be cautious. And with the whole spring break thing, it's honestly not as big of a deal in my eyes, because it's kind of just like the fall semester. We don't really get a fall break. I mean, yeah, we get Thanksgiving, but that's pretty much it. So I think that I just want to get my degree finished with. I just want to start, get it done, and finish the semester strong.
I'm the same way. I have one semester left. I just want to get it over with. A little selfishly, I'm kind of upset that I only got I just transferred last year, so I only got a semester and a half in person out of Temple, which, it was unavoidable, but it was still just like, I would have liked to have had some in-person classes. But it's one of those things where it's like I just have to accept the situation that we're in, like everybody else has to. I mean, we have nobody has any power over this.
Yeah, exactly. It is a bummer, but I mean, I think a lot of the professors are doing the best that they can to make our virtual experience, it's not going to be exactly like if we were all in person, but as close to that as possible. So my professors this semester, she still had she still had a in-person networking event for us. We were all socially distanced, wearing masks. I didn't feel unsafe. We were all outside. But it was really nice to still be able to get that experience and to network with people that are in the marketing and advertising field that I'm looking to get into.
Mm-hmm. Allison, are you back?
I think I'm back. Hopefully day, but
do you want to continue from where you were?
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say, going back to like the Temple handling the situation, I think that since everything, I remember like when in the beginning of the semester when they put us all online for the 2 weeks, I remember a lot of students found out first over social media, an official email, Temple email being sent out. And I know there was like a little lag behind that, so that's probably why, but I know a lot of students were a little upset that they found out over a social media post rather than an actual official email. But I think now that's gotten better with the communication aspect.
Absolutely. Do we have any other thoughts on this? Any predictions of where we think this is going to go? Even though we can't see into the future.
I'm just
Let's say where we hope this goes.
I'm just hoping it's not another situation like this semester where they bring everyone to campus and then a week later, tell everyone go home. I of course it's really hard to predict the future, and I wasn't someone affected in that, but if I could sympathize with the people who were. That's just a really tough situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know,
Yeah.
I personally know some freshmen who they were put on campus, then they were put in a dorm that they weren't supposed to be in originally. Then they were moved all the way across campus over here. Then they took the money. They took then they had to apartment shopping to try to find somewhere because they couldn't personally go back home.
Mhm.
And it's just, I know that's been a whole big ordeal, and it shouldn't have. I don't know. I hope something like that doesn't happen again come spring semester. But then also with the in-person classes, I know I had what did I have? 1, 2 in-person classes that eventually just all got put online, and the professors were not prepared for it to be online. So that, and as I'm a media production major, so as someone who kind of relies on handling equipment and kind of being in person, it's going to be an adjustment. And I hope this doesn't really affect at least my career in the future, because I'm going to need to know how to use some of this equipment that I'm not having, and I'm not getting the experience right now using.
Yeah.
I think we should also bring up that there's been a lot of students that have been unhappy with Temple's like the price of their semester. Let's call it, where we all kind of got charged for a full-on educational experience, and Temple can only do so much in this situation, and this goes for I'm not just singling out Temple. There's every university in the country has this issue going on right now, or a lot of them, where they charge students for a full semester, the full semester for in person everything, and they haven't reduced the price on anything. And there's a lot of people that have been very, very upset about that. And I know a lot of people who've been extremely inconvenienced by that, where they paid for the full-on semester because they got 1 week in person and then it went online.
Yeah.
You guys know? Yeah.
It's very tough, and I mean, I'm not an expert in any of this. I don't really know fully where your tuition money goes. I mean, I know a lot of it is towards your classes, but then a lot of it goes towards, paying the professors and making sure all the facilities are able to be kept up with and everything like that. So if they were to trust me, I'm all for getting a discount on my education. My student loans are through the roof right now, and they just keep getting added on, the longer that I'm in school. I am for slashing the price, but if you look, being the devil's advocate, so if Temple does slash those prices, how are the professors going to get paid for? How the professor is going to be getting paid? How are the facilities that are still being able to be in use? Because we can still use the student center, we can still go to the gym, we can still do some of that. How's that stuff going to be kept up with? And I guess I'm not a math person, so I don't really know where those numbers would be going or coming from, but it would just be interesting to see where all that would lay out, and how much would they slash it by? How would that really affect Temple being able to even keep operating? Not that we don't have millions and millions of students where they could still do that, but I don't know. I just don't know. And it goes above the Board of Education too. I'm sure those funds come from some type of place there.
Very true.
I think another thing to also, yes, we can still use the facilities like the tech center or the library. But before those were, at least the tech center was a 24-hour facility. So I know my friends and I used to go to the tech center at 8 o'clock, and we'd be there until 2, 3 in the morning, just banging out all of our work.
Right.
And they close now at 8 o'clock. And 8 or 10? 10 o'clock, I think.
No idea.
So, but I know that that's an issue because like a lot of people have to do their work at night because they have classes all day, they have work all day. And like, let's say you're having spotty internet or you don't have access. Like I'm fortunate enough to have access to my own laptop and like my own hard drive and everything, but some people do not have that access. So they rely on places like the tech center to get the softwares they need and get the equipment they need to do their work properly. So the fact that now they have to kind of work around that or try to figure something else out, it becomes like, well, where is my money going? And I understand what you're saying, Jordan, where like you don't want to be taking this out. Like if Temple does lower tuition, is it taking it out of the professor's pockets? Are there going to be layoffs? Like what's going to happen? But then I think it's a bad situation for all because it's like the students don't want to pay for things that they're not getting. The professors don't want to be laid off, but then Temple needs to close places like the tech center for proper cleaning. And I think I don't have an answer for this. So it's just a bad situation overall.
Yeah. It's something that I would like to see the future president, as I know that they're in the transitional phase now from our current president to a new president, to see what that person would do about this situation, because I know a lot of students have voiced their opinions on this.
What do we all actually think about that situation where like right as COVID started, we did get the email from Richard Englert saying that he's gonna be stepping down as president. It's like we're in such a precedented time that now we have to look for a brand new president for our university. Mm-hmm. What's all of our thoughts?
I'm not a mind reader. I don't know what his reasoning exactly was for that, but it's bad timing. It just does not look, there's nothing about that looks good. So I personally have never met him. I don't know what his reasoning for this is, but yeah, it was at the height of the whole COVID thing that he announced that he was leaving. So I don't know. It doesn't, from an optics standpoint, it doesn't look good.
Right.
I would like to hope that the next president will handle what is remaining of the COVID-19 pandemic maybe a little better than he has. And also, make sure that we're getting the full on, we're all here to get an education. We're all here to get a degree. So that's the most important thing at the end of the day, whether or not we're online. Personally, I don't care that we're online just because I want to get my degree. That's my goal in life right now. So as long as I'm able to get the good education out of that's all that matters to me. I think that's what matters to a lot of Temple students and to a lot of students in universities and colleges around the country right now. But yes, I do hope that the next president of Temple maybe has some new ideas of how we can go into maybe the next semester or the semester after that, whenever they're elected, and just have the best education that we can possibly get out of this.
Did you guys see
for however much longer this goes?
Sorry, I was just going to say, did you guys see that Temple released, they sent out an email of a survey of what us as students would want to see in a president, the future president for Temple. So I filled that out, I sent it back. So I think that's really cool that they're, wanting to hear from the students as well. I think that they also sent it out to the faculty and alumni. So I guess we'll see.
I think that's very like, I like that they're kind of involving us. And I think the whole way through, they've been involving us in the process of finding a new president, because at the end of the day, the president's going to be making decisions that's directly affecting us as students and the faculty. So it's making it a little easier on us because we're going to try to help them find a new president.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yes, absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see the future of Temple University after our current president leaves. It's going to be interesting to see where the university goes while the COVID pandemic is still happening for who knows how much longer. Nobody knows how much longer this is going to last. So yeah, at the end of the day, I just hope that we're able to get the most out of our university, even under these circumstances, whether or not we have a new president. So, a lot of serious news happening in the world right now. I think everybody's a little stressed out from it. And as usual on the show, we're going to end on a little bit of a nicer topic, little calmer topic. Last week we had Halloween, so this week we wanted to discuss the costumes that we saw the most of this year. We also want to discuss, we want to discuss the top 3 costumes that we saw this year and relating it to just how Halloween was affected by COVID and by everything else that is going on this year. I'll start off by saying this Halloween was a weird one for me. I basically stayed in and watched movies with my girlfriend and my sister, and I think I saw one group of trick-or-treaters. So I didn't really see a lot of in-person costumes this year.
Mhm.
We had our fun show last week where we were all dressed up. Allison was a taco. Jordan, what was your thing? Was that like Minnie Mouse ears?
No, it was a little. I just found it at the dollar store.
And I had a Gandalf mask for people who know what Lord of the Rings is. I was the wizard from Lord of the Rings. But yeah, this was like everything else this year. It was affected by COVID. Not a lot of, at least in my area, not a lot of people were out and about. How did you two find Halloween to be this year?
So Halloween, it started out pretty interesting because you guys remember it started out with like Philadelphia going on lockdown, and we had our curfew that actually did not continue through Halloween, but the start of Halloween weekend, Friday night, we did have a 9 p.m. curfew. So that was, and I don't know if you guys saw this, nothing ended up happening because of it, but there was like words going around that there was going to be like a purge happening.
That was terrifying.
That was
Yes.
very terrifying because you have all these like protests now coming out. We locked down. The word was in Center City, and now we're hearing about like a purge that could be happening. And I'm like, it's 2020. You can't really, think anything's not going to happen. So that was a little terrifying to hear. But overall, I mean, I stayed in with my friends. We all still dressed up, but it was definitely a little weird. My parents told me they're out in the suburbs on Long Island, and they didn't actually get a single trick-or-treater. They were a little upset that they all this candy and not one trick. So that's just a little strange.
Yeah, based on the purge thing, so I got my car I got an oil change last Friday, so I was sitting there waiting for it to get done, and my roommate texted me the screenshot of that, and my first thought was, okay, where did you get this from? Where did this come from? Not that it shouldn't be taken seriously, but I know that right now sometimes people are putting out fake things just to scare people. But just seeing that, that's just so crazy about what everything is going on. And then with the curfew thing too, it's just really weird. But overall, I thought this was a pretty good Halloween. My roommate and I still dressed up as well, and just enjoyed ourselves. And still, I really enjoyed going on Instagram and seeing everyone still celebrate, but also keeping in mind, this pandemic is still going on. I think that the most popular costumes that I saw about 20 people being Little Red Riding Hood. I don't know if that was a theme for everybody else, but then Scooby-Doo was a big one too. Those were the two
a lot
that I saw a lot of.
I saw a lot of people dressed up as like the Among Us characters, or it's like the video game. Not too familiar with it,
right?
And then also Euphoria characters. I saw a lot, at least on my feed, of Euphoria characters.
I saw a lot of people in those costumes that make it look like they're being carried away by an alien. Like it makes it look like half of your body is the alien and the other half is this. So it's like their arms are like wrapped around it like this. And so like people are like running backwards, like looking like they're being taken away by an alien. I saw a lot of that this year. And I also saw the classic, the big dinosaur costume.
That's
with the face shields. I saw a lot of that online. So it's always fun seeing. I feel like the dinosaur one became kind of like a classic in like the last few years.
It has.
Yeah,
it was a pretty new one. And, yeah.
I think it was funny. I saw a bunch of 2020 or 2020 related themed costumes. So I saw a little girl who dressed up as her mom on a Zoom call. So she was in a cardboard box and had a bunch of pictures on top. And she was wearing a nice shirt on top and then pajama bottoms on the bottom. And I just thought that was just so accurate to what this year has been. And then another little kid went as a drive-by happy birthday car. So on people's birthdays, sometimes people wouldn't be able to actually celebrate in person and be around everyone. So they would just do a drive-by of their house singing happy birthday. So it was pretty funny.
I saw a lot of people that had like a whole Zoom setup, kind of like a fake desk and a fake computer in front of
That's
them.
funny.
And I saw a lot of them like I saw at least 3 of these where it was people like in like a bubble
Yeah.
with that whole setup, which I was just like, that looks like it's really hard to walk around in. But it's funny that people are still able to take this very serious and tragic year that we've had and still get a little bit of enjoyment out of it. That's what I've always liked about Halloween, is that you can still you can kind of make fun of things here and there. It's like you can like have a laugh at something bad that happens. I feel like every year we're able to do that. Another costume pairing that I saw a lot of this year, especially online, was people dressing as, like, one person was dressed as Donald Trump and one person dressed as Joe Biden, and they would like make videos of them like bickering at each other and like their voices.
Yeah.
So it's all a lot of that.
Saw the fly came about.
Yes, a lot of people were the fly on Mike Pence's head. A lot of people took advantage of that.
Yeah,
Superior costume.
Yeah, people got really creative this year.
I saw one going with like you have to stay like 6 feet away. The Slinky dog from Toy Story.
Oh yeah.
So like they were like 6 feet away because each person was like a different part of the Slinky. So I thought that was like pretty clever that they were like, I mean, I don't know how much they were actually 6 feet apart, but pretty clever that they were like kind of able to use that.
I think it's neat seeing some people come up with creative ways to still give out candy and do trick-or-treating. So having the making a pipe shoot, so you put the candy in one end and it spits out at the other, so still keeping that distance, but being able to
some people put
oh, we might have lost her again.
Oh no. Can you hear us, Allison?
I can hear you guys.
Okay. Say whatever you were going to say. Allison, we'll come back to you. You've broken up a little bit. Wait, are you back?
I'm back.
Okay, let's try this again. Third time's the charm.
All right, third time. So sorry, I've been doing this 3 times. So the pipe, you put a jack-o'-lantern at the other end, and it looks like you're puking out the candy.
Right, I love that.
That's all I wanted to say.
I think a lot of people also were able to take advantage of some activities that you can still do on on Halloween. Personally, I made jack-o'-lanterns this year with my girlfriends and my sister and my parents as well. So that was a lot of fun. Something that you can still enjoy the holiday as much as possible. I think it was cool to we kept a bowl of candy out for kids to come by and get them. I personally had one of those like extending claws that I was going to give out candy to the kids, but we missed the first group, and then after that we didn't get anybody else. So I unfortunately did not get to use it this year. But
fortunate for you, now you have a bunch of candy.
True.
Yes, exactly. I'll also bring this up because we're going to wrap up the show in just a few minutes. The next 2 big holidays of the year, Thanksgiving and Christmas, probably also going to be affected the same way that Halloween was this year. Do we all have certain plans that we know that's going on this year? Like, do you guys know what you're doing for those holidays? Or I should say, let's also include Hanukkah in there as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I know me personally, I'm going home for Thanksgiving back to Long Island. And I mean, typically my family does a very small Thanksgiving. but this year it's going to be even smaller. It's just looks like it's just going to be me and my parents for Thanksgiving dinner. So that's going to be a little interesting because there's not going to be anyone. Also, Black Friday, that's been affected as of, not that that's the big thing of Thanksgiving, but it's a big American activity. So I know that's been affected.
Yeah, I'm planning on going home too. I'm just always I usually just go and see my grandparents, so it's a really big deal for me to make sure that I'm not that I think that I have COVID or anything, but to make sure that I get tested a few days before, I don't want to put anyone at risk by going home, but I definitely do want to see them. So I'll definitely be getting tested once before Thanksgiving and then again for Christmas. But with the Thanksgiving or the Black Friday thing, I think that's really awesome that the companies are doing that and having sales throughout the entire month rather than just one day, and also extending those sales to be online too. I know that, for Black Friday is such a huge thing for for those type of retail stores, but I love that they're, realizing this is the situation. Let's see how we can change that and still promoting it as, these are before Christmas sales or Hanukkah sales, but making it safe for everyone. I just genuinely think that's awesome.
And I'm so glad they're not putting their employees at such a big risk, because for those retail employees, like, they have to work those holidays. They don't have a choice. And the fact that these big companies are realizing that they were put at a risk like the entire pandemic, a lot of people. So I think that's another way to kind of give back. Like, one, they get Thanksgiving basically off this year, or at least they don't have to deal with Black Friday.
Yeah, which if you've ever worked Black Friday before, it is awful. I'll tell you, it is not fun.
I worked retail for a few years and it was just a nightmare. It was awful. But yeah, I think it's good that people are still able to make the most out of, the holidays this year, because it's a little reprieve from just the craziness of 2020. It's been a very long year for everybody, and I think being able to make the most of like little moments like a holiday or something like that, it's going to be very important for people just to keep their sanity. And I know I'll probably be seeing maybe a little bit of family. I don't know if we're going to be traveling for that. I have family in New York, like Long Island area. So I don't know if I'm going to be seeing them this year, but as long as we're able to keep in contact, I think that's the most important thing.
I got to admit, something that I'm really concerned about is New Year's this year,
Yes.
and how people are going to handle that, because I think a lot of people are relating the pandemic and everything that's going on to the year 2020, but it's not going to go away by 2021, by the first day of 2021. So I'm just a little nervous to see how everybody celebrate, because everyone wants to celebrate the fact that 2020 is over. It's been such a rough year for everybody, but I'm hoping that everyone does it in the best and smartest and safest way possible. Yes, we definitely should celebrate the fact that this year is behind us, but if we handle it as if the pandemic is not, then that's going to be maybe repeating history.
Take the same precautions you've taken with the holidays this year, everyone. Just stay safe. You can have your fun, just stay safe. We don't want another wave of this happening, because the sooner that we can get this under control and go back to a normal life, the better it's going to be for everybody.
Right. Exactly.
Do we have anything we want to close with before we end today?
I think just one last thing. I think people have to remember, like, we're still in a pandemic right now, and you guys probably saw right now the United States is having either the most cases or they're having the same amount of cases they had at the beginning. And I think people are now forgetting, of course, like, the election is top of our mind right now, but remember, like, you still have to take your precautions. I understand, like, people are like over it, like, they want to go back to normal life, but that's just not reality right now. And it's scary to be seeing all these like new cases, and it just seems like things, like, we're going to start shutting down soon. And I know that's going to be such a big thing for people. Like, they're not going to want to go back into quarantine, go back into lockdown.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. We had a lot to talk about today. Hopefully by next week's hopefully by next week's show, we'll know who our next president is going to be, and we can discuss
Hopefully.
that. We can
Right.
have some new
Be
topics
back
to
in person
discuss.
together.
Wanted to wish our other intern who wasn't able to come on the show today, Olivia, a happy belated birthday. I believe it was her birthday this past week. So happy birthday, Olivia, if you're watching. And this has been the Intern Hour. I'm your host, John Fay, with Allison Silibovsky and Jordan Ezell. And we'll catch you guys next week. Thank you for listening.
Bye, guys.